So one of Donald Trump's biggest rallies was supposed to be last night at Madison Square Garden. But now it's become about damage control. The Trump campaign distancing itself from an anti-Puerto Rico comment made by a speaker at the Garden. Comedian Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke referring to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage in the ocean. A Trump campaign senior advisor said the statement does not reflect the views of the former president, and U.S. Senator Rick Scott here in Florida also denouncing the comments.
I think Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar was the first one to come out and denounce the comments, and then you had Senator Rick Scott. Now others have. Here is that moment from the rally.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there.
So I'm sure there are some who are listening thinking, why are we focusing on this one part out of that entire event at Madison Square Garden? And Dana, you watched it, and you said there were a number of parts that you liked, different guests that got up and spoke that you thought, made a good argument for Trump.
Oh, yeah. I thought there was a lot of good stuff. I thought Dr. Phil made some good points, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. People loved that Melania came out. So there was a lot of positive. I didn't see that part of it. That must have been before I started watching it. But it's just disappointing to know that was allowed to get in there, because overall I thought it was a pretty positive event for Trump.
Well, and it wasn't just that. There were a couple of other comments that I can't repeat on the show.
Yeah, Hinchcliffe put out a thing on X saying it was taken out of context and you should watch his whole set. I watched his whole set.
Yeah, it wasn't taken out of context.
And it got much worse than that. The Puerto Rico comment's really the only thing we could put on.
Right. So why does this matter? Because when you're in the home stretch and a race is this close, you certainly, if you're a candidate, don't want somebody else causing problems for you. This wasn't something that Trump said, but it was at his event, and now it's going to be a huge focus. And part of the reason it's going to be a big focus because the Harris campaign is going to make it a big focus. They're going to run ads in areas of Pennsylvania, for example, where you have about 3.5% of the electorate Puerto Rican. They're going to run ads linking those comments to Trump to try to impact the vote there. That's why it's going to have an on-the-ground effect in this election. And with only so many news cycles left, you just don't want something like that. Like, there's no positive to it. You don't want something like that dominating the news cycle. Now, former President Donald Trump could go a long ways in putting an end to all of this by coming out today himself and denouncing those comments. Can't just have the campaign put out a statement. That's not going to be enough. Trump's going to come out and do it. I don't know that he will do that, but that would be one way to try to move things past that news cycle. But again, just not what you want in the final days of a campaign that's this close. And that's why you saw someone like Senator Rick Scott come out so forcefully against it so quickly. Puerto Rican vote's a big vote here in Florida. He's in a bit of a tight race.
Yeah, you got online backlash from people like J-Lo and Bad Bunny, and people with literally hundreds of millions of followers on Instagram. So that's going to be tough to go up against that. But at the same time, they got to say something that can keep the people who are voting in places like Philadelphia on their side and not create a backlash among them. I think there was something like 300,000 in the Philadelphia area. They had like the third largest Puerto Rican population in the U.S. behind Florida and then New York.
Right, and with the margins that we're likely going to see in those kinds of swing states, it could make a difference. Now, I don't know if J-Lo putting something out really does much of anything, except it might make people who weren't aware of the comments, like Dana, you weren't aware.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Might make them aware of it, and they could be part of that voting block. So that moment, I would say, not a great one last night. I also thought Democrats, there were some on the left who they kept trying to link this Madison Square Garden event to the Nazi rally there in 1939. I think when they do that, they turn people off. I mean, you're definitely seeing the rhetoric ratchet up to a new level here in these last 8 days.
Yeah, I think it was MSNBC that just had that on their ticker at the bottom that Trump holds rally at Madison Square Garden 85 years after Hitler's rally.
Yeah, no, Trump wanted to hold a rally at Madison Square Garden because Trump's always wanted to be the star at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, exactly, and he owned up to it too.
Yeah, he said as much, and his campaign paid $1 million to do that event last night. In terms of the other stuff that happened over the weekend, you had Vice President Kamala Harris appear with Beyonce. What was most notable about that was that Beyonce didn't
did
perform.
not perform, and a lot of people thought she would, and they were disappointed. Yeah,
and that's the second time that there was supposed to be a Beyonce performance. Remember the Democratic National Convention?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was the big thing that was supposed to happen, and nothing.
No, if Kamala Harris wins and there's an inauguration, I'm sure there'll be more rumors, and Beyonce will just show up and be like, I'm just here for the inauguration, not to perform. And then you had Michelle Obama hit the campaign trail, and although I think her and Barack Obama are clearly the best communicators in the Democratic Party, the one thing you have when Michelle Obama hits the campaign trail is that Democrats wish that Michelle Obama
those were all the comments on X. Yes, she overshadows Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
Harris going to Temple tonight, Temple University, and Springsteen and Obama will both be there for that event.
And then Trump on Joe Rogan, which what is it up to? Almost 30 million views.
It's at 33 million, and I went to YouTube and looked because we've heard different numbers all morning. On YouTube, it's up to 33 million.
Yeah, so I think that one was a big success for the Trump campaign, getting that many voters, and potentially you're reaching a part of the electorate who might be inclined to vote for him, but might not be the type of voter that typically shows up. So that could be a benefit to him, again, in a tight swing state.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Young males in particular, they want to get out to the polls. So if you ever had concerns about sending your precious ballot out in the mail and wondering what happens, this is not going to help your worries. A U.S. mail contract postal worker accused of throwing away 1,000 pieces of mail, including at least one mail-in ballot and 400 political mailings. That's not a problem.
No, that's
the ballots.
You can throw the ads in the trash.
That's one of those situations where not all heroes wear capes.
But the ballots need to be delivered.
That's a problem.
The ballots have got to be delivered. And this was in the woods in Orange County over in the Orlando area. Otis McCoy Jr. tossed the mail into a neighborhood cul-de-sac in the Alafaya Woods. And the district court in Orlando says that employees figured out what was going on because of a GPS tracker and the fact that this employee had a carload of mail and came back early. They're like, there's no way he's getting this done before it's over, right?
He delivered it all to one place.
This reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where Jerry Seinfeld started delivering the mail for Newman, and he delivered so much mail, they knew it wasn't Newman doing his own route.
Exactly. Yeah, so this is a case where, look, you put these ballots in there and you have faith that the Postal Service is going to, handle this. Now, I have a friend who's similar to this, and he has to mail it because of his job. And he does the tracking online.
Yeah, that's what
he started freaking out because it was like getting inside of a week, and they didn't scan the barcode at the elections office. The ballot never arrived. Well, it eventually arrived, 3 or 4 days before the election. But that's one way you can keep track of the ballot. If it doesn't get scanned by the office, you should be able to track that and find out. And if you're worried about it, you can always go and vote either in person or try and find out if there's another way you can do it without your mail-in ballot.
And if you're mailing it in, they say to do it like today.
Because the post office is a little slow. Yeah, they're not Amazon. It's not 2-day delivery.
No. So get it in today.
Yeah. And you could go with Express. I mean, maybe do overnight.
I paid $38 to get your ballot there in a day.
At least you get a tracking number and all that stuff.
I don't know if people care if they have that much of a say in this election.
So the Falcons hold sole possession of the top spot in the NFC South after beating the Buccaneers 31-26 at Raymond James Stadium. Kirk Cousins, a huge game, 23 of 29 for 276 yards. On the Bucs side, Baker Mayfield had a decent game. He had to throw 50 passes.
That's a lot.
And he completed 37 for 330 yards, had 3 TDs, but he also had 2 important interceptions.
Yeah, they started pretty good. Running game was solid. They were right in the mix, and then once their defense started to leak a little bit and the Falcons got ahead, they just could not play catch-up. It's just obviously a tough matchup for them. They've lost twice to the Falcons. Going to be hard to win the division that way. What a story from the Dolphins, though, with Tua back.
Yeah, and it looked great at first. He drives down the field, 64 yards for a score in the opening drive of the game. But after that, it was a struggle, but a competitive game nonetheless.
Yep.
And Arizona was able to win it with a field goal at the very end. Tagovailoa came back and looked good, at least initially. But unfortunately, the Dolphins continue to struggle.
I know the Dolphins didn't win, but definitely a good sign. They look a lot better with Tua behind center. One other sports story I want to get to, the Miami Heat unveiled their Dwyane Wade statue. And I don't know if you've seen this, but some people are comparing it to Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men when he's screaming, "You can't handle the truth." Take a look at that.
Oh, gee.
Oh, my. What the hell kind of statue is that?
I see it. I see it.
Up there for the camera so everyone can see it. What kind of statue is that? Doesn't look anything like Dwyane Wade.
Wow.
Yeah,
what did they
really
do?
Doesn't. It looks like
It's
Jack
scary.
Nicholson. Yeah, of all things they could have done. They could have put any look on his face.
They're going to scare the hell out of little kids. They're going to go there. And that looks like a statue that should be out there for Halloween. Maybe that's the Halloween Dwyane Wade statue. Maybe there's the real one that hasn't been unveiled yet.
Next week we'll get the real one. Yeah.
All right, Chris Trankman with today's top stories. Chris, thanks so much.
Thank you.